Exhale, Goulet. Survival in Europe doesn't always have to be pretty, and while it wasn't down 10 men in Lisbon against Benfica, Barcelona fans were still treated to something to celebrate and also had some great moments in a 1-0 win in Portugal to talk about in a match that definitely had some fireworks. Welcome to episode 666 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Dan Hilton, and I want to give a big thank you to everybody who joined me on the watch along today. We had some fun, so much so that we created some content that you will see later on in the week. But while I will not have a watch along for Osasuna on Saturday, unfortunately, I'll be missing that one. On Tuesday, I will have the watch along for the second leg against Benfica, so please join me for that one. And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and give a like. And now, let's dive in. The 5 headlines from Barcelona's 1-0 win over Benfica in the first leg of the Champions League round of 16. Headline 1 is Cubarsi Sees Red. Now, over the course of this tie, I was going to stay pretty calm. I said that on the watch along from the opening whistle, that over 180 minutes, I did believe that Barcelona were the better side. And this one is definitely not over yet. Being up by just one goal in a Champions League tie, knowing that Cubarsi is not going to be over for the second one, you can't count your chicken before they hatch. Sure. And Barcelona did start this match on the back heel. But looking at the two lineups, I felt like Hansi Flick had probably his best 11 at his disposal. He didn't even have Gabi to be able to come off the bench, but with almost starting, that is pretty much a gala 11 for Hansi Flick. Meanwhile, for Benfica, they had a few players missing, and Angel Di Maria not being an option, and then Florentino Luis not available as a defensive midfielder. So that meant that instead of the more defensive-minded defensive midfielder, you had kind of more of a box-to-box midfielder coming in Leandro Barreiro, who was pretty good, I think, in the start in an offensive sense, but he did have his defensive issues that will probably pop up as we go along. In the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds of this game, it definitely started with a flurry, almost the other way with a shot himself that goes wide. In the 12th minute, Barcelona, huge chance here to really take a strangle on this tie, but it just doesn't go their way. Fantastic goalkeeping by Trebin. The one compliment for his goalkeeping, because I have a few compliments for the other goalkeeper on the other side, but Barcelona, they have 3 chances in one here, almost on the one time. Lewandowski is stopped, then Lamine Yamal couldn't get enough on it. Again, Trebin, much more credit to him than it was, I felt, misses from those few players from Barcelona. And I felt like even when just that 1 minute, his market value might have absolutely doubled. And we know that Benfica are pretty good selling. They don't need these kind of moments to inflate their market value for some of their players. So maybe this is the moment that does that for him. Now, jumping ahead to the 22nd minute, here's the bad news for Barcelona. The red card for Pau Cubarsi. It's a tackle on Pavlidis. The instant response was, oh, that feels harsh. But then you watch the replay from any angle, and he is going to be missing the second leg of this tie just because he misses the ball here. He gets all man, and it does wind up being actually a pretty easy call. It's pretty quickly confirmed by VAR, and it's the right call because he did not get any part of the ball. He went through the man, and it's a tough one from Pau Cubarsi because I do defend the kid, and I say if he makes that tackle 9 out of 10 times, he gets the ball there. It almost felt impossible for him to miss the ball, the way the ball just kind of skirted underneath his leading leg, and his trailing leg just wasn't to it yet. So frustrating for Cubarsi. And then the fallout from that was that Barcelona were asking for a foul on De Jong in the buildup. They kind of knew that Cubarsi had committed the foul, but they don't get the call for the foul on De Jong in the buildup. And then right afterward, Szczesny saves the free kick. And then soon after that, Araujo comes in for Olmo, which I had said on the watch along was the right move. You do want to keep Lewandowski on simply because of set pieces, down a man. That is where he is dangerous as an aerial threat there. The dude just scores goals. And yes, you knew he was going to have to press for a while, but when necessary, you take him off in the second half, which again, Hansi Flick was in the driver's seat. What a fantastic managerial performance as well, navigating a red card in the 22nd minute and still getting a win. Compliments to the chef in Hansi Flick. And this choice here, Araujo in for Olmo, was a major part of that equation. PSG, deja vu in the red card, though, and then Monaco, deja vu as well, earlier this season in the league phase of the Champions League. At that point, it's not that I was nervous, but I felt like 0-0, 1-1, any kind of result for Barcelona that felt even half positive would be a big positive for Barcelona, considering the second leg. Those who joined me on a recent watch-along already saw this, but I am happy to be partnering with Goal Shop, who hooked me up with some of those jerseys that I had on my list, but I never was willing to pull the trigger, at least until now. As you can see, I feel like I look good in pink, so they hooked me up with this Inter Miami Messi jersey, as well as, for, of course, the Barcelona fan in me, this Centennial jersey, which, again, I've had on my list, but maybe it's just the fact that I don't really feel like I look too great in navy, as well as this France 1998 World Cup jersey, which obviously, if you've been with me for quite some time, you know that the man on the back has got to be none other than Thierry Henry. Goal Shop has tons of teams, current and vintage players, current and vintage jerseys, and stuff for the whole family. If you go to the link down in the description, you can get an exclusive 15% off coupon with code TBPOD. That's all lowercase TBPOD. All right, back to those headlines. Headline 2 is doing the work of two men. Little did I know that Pedri decided that, hey, even down 10 men, that's going to give me a bit more space to be able to deal with my lack of space. Pedri was amazing in this match. I had said throughout the watch long, I thought Szczesny was going to get the man of the match, but no, I think the UEFA Champions League accurately gave it to Pedri. Pedri was just sensational, especially after Barca go down to 10 men. They were asking De Jong and Pedri laterally to cover so much ground. And Barca's decision and Hansi Flick's decision to keep pressing, even down 10 men, was very risky. And yet, it worked. 34th minute, De Jong finds space well between the lines, gets an opportunity for Raphinha, who just wasn't clinical, both as a finisher or as a passer in that first half. Fortunately, he would turn it around and make it a positive day, as we know. Benfica fans also in that first half, they were the silliest of the bunch. Fireworks, flares, the whole thing. I don't understand why they did that. That gave Barca and their players a chance to catch their breath. It is no benefit to your own players for the fans to be doing that in the first half of a game when you're up a man. Absolute nonsense. And if you're Benfica, the players at least, I'm looking at my fans after this game and saying, hey, you've got to hold some of that L2 because that nonsense and silliness in the first half, that's on you. And yes, it was our job to get the job done, but hey, you didn't make it any easier for us. There were so many moments in this game when Pedri found a way out of pressure. And the fact that Pedri with his, when I say superior ball retention, I'm saying that particular skill, look it up on, I haven't played one of the FIFA games or an EA 25 game in quite some time, but his stats and ball retention, you can tell me if it's an official stat on that video game, it should be 100. It's the best in the world. His ball retention, it's him. And then it's everybody else at the moment. That is what we're dealing with Pedri, and he showcased that here in this match. Interceptions, yes. Playing under pressure with men on his back, little space to work with. His ability to do those things at an elite level allowed Hansi Flick to not have to settle into a low block. It didn't have to make Barcelona play scared. Instead, they could do not pressing as extreme as they usually do, but they could still try to press when that ball would go out wide, and they had Benfica players kind of stuck on the sideline there and could use that sideline as the extra man, because even down 10 men, you can find numerical overloads on parts of the field. Again, if De Jong and Pedri were willing to put in the shift that they did, then you could have those opportunities to continue to play a medium block. You didn't have to just settle for less, and that's getting into a low block and feeling like you're digging out a result from the 22nd minute on. No, Pedri was so good in this game, it felt like he was doing the work of two men because how good he was, again, defensively and offensively as well without ball retention. Benfica, they were running out of gas just chasing him around and using three guys to try to take the ball off him. 43rd minute, it's a mega save by Szczesny. Barca, as I said, we're trying to press. Balde is late on the back post, and Szczesny stops the header from Artiglu. Now in hindsight, that is a huge moment in this match. 45th minute, Guerrero deserved a yellow for sure on the Inigo tackle. It's not a red though. Inigo slid underneath him. But unfortunately for Inigo Martinez, he's so frustrated by this that he gets a yellow for dissent for throwing a shin guard. That one is going to hurt not only tomorrow, but today. And hey, that's credit also to Inigo Martinez for playing that whole second half, not only with a yellow, but with a leg that I bet you hurt more than I'm willing to deal with. I would have been crying. I would have been on the sideline. I would not have appreciated that. So yeah, good on you for Inigo Martinez for that one. Stoppage time in the first half. Another awesome run by Balde, who was pretty quiet and defending in the first half, but he makes an awesome run, classic Balde run, pass for Benfica players and ends with a yellow for Antonio Silva, which might have been in his head a little bit, which I don't want to put that too much to the goal later, but I do want to say that Antonio Silva, a young player, felt like a bit of deer in headlights at moments in this Champions League tie. And then to end off this first half, Pedri again, a backheel to Raphinha. And Raphinha, as I said in the first half, just wasn't clinical enough. Couldn't find Lewandowski or Lamine Yamal, who's making the run to the back post. And Barcelona, as much as Benfica weren't taking their chances, neither were Barca. And I don't think there were full chances for anybody, kind of half chances. And both goalkeepers and backlines also, I think in the first half, deserved that 0-0 in the halftime. Headline 3 is Raphinha when needed. There were no subs at halftime, which I assume that there wouldn't be because Hansi Flick went with that Gala 11. You have to make the switch, put on Araujo. You're going to see how much that group that, as I said, in the remainder of that first half after the red card, did such a sensational job pressing, playing the medium block, and finding opportunities themselves offensively. So you don't want to change anything. Totally understand why Hansi Flick didn't. 50th minute, Pavlidis misses one from point-blank range. Araujo making it difficult. And it's going to seem counterintuitive here, but as I'm going to also tell you later in this match review, that Araujo, these moments of being down 10 men, because he was the guy that gets sent off against PSG last year, we didn't really get to see it. But when Barcelona had to drop a bit deeper and he has less space to have to cover, it allows him to be that fortress that we know he can be. And so even though Pavlidis was there and probably should have got this one on goal, I think Araujo still was in the way to make sure this one would have ended up a corner anyway. 51st minute, so a minute later, it's Szczesny again. Barca need to stop complaining for the offsides here. If I have one bit of feedback for Barcelona from that game, it's especially for De Jong, Araujo, and Inigo Martinez. Stop calling for the offsides. Stop calling for earlier fouls into play. Make sure you clear that and then get in the refs here. I know that De Jong has a captain's armband, but even with the captain's armband, he gets a bit flat-footed. He was so good in this game. And I was just nervous that he was going to make a mistake at some point because he was focused more on why the ref didn't have Barca's back instead of defending until that ball was no longer in a position of danger. 56th minute, maybe a surprise here, maybe related to the fasting he's doing for Ramadan, but Lamine Yamal comes off for Ferran Torres. So yeah, it could have something to do with the fasting, but it could also have something to do with Lamine Yamal has played a lot of minutes this season. And I thought he was really good against Carreras today. That is a battle that we're not going to see again because Carreras getting a late yellow means he will miss the next match. That means that Lamine Yamal, even though he might be fasting, I think he's going to have an opportunity to eat there in that second leg because Carreras is going to be missing it. So Lamine Yamal, I think he had a good day, all things considered, and they kept finding him, that being Barcelona, on diagonals in space. And I think he wore Benfica down a little bit because of how many bodies he attracts to, very much similar to what Pedri was doing. But Ferran Torres comes on to help with that press, adding the energy as he should have. And I think that good pressure that Ferran Torres added to the game did help set up and create this goal. 61st minute, it's a numerical overload on the press for Barcelona on their left side. They don't win it, that being Barca initially, but then Antonio Silva, who was under pressure in this game, even up a man, he gives it away. It goes right to Raphinha. His shot then deflects off Otamendi. A little bit of good fortune for Raphinha and Barca, sure, but you make your own luck here, and the ever so slight deflection beats the keeper in the one spot he can't get to it. Yes, it's an awful mistake by a young player, but Barcelona, because of that press, because of the hard work, they did deserve this goal. I know in the Champions League especially, you don't deserve anything, and, Real Madrid, we can talk about what they've deserved, and the many, many Champions Leagues they've won, but you don't deserve something, but working hard and creating your own luck, that's what I say you have to do. I think Barcelona did create their own luck in this instance, and they go up 1-0 in the 61st minute. Still a lot of time to play, but at that point, my nerves, which were already, again, pretty calm, they were basically at that point playing a 50-50 game. It could have gone anybody's way, but I felt like even down a man, they were completely in it, and I was not surprised when they went up 1-0. Headline 4 then is Tek Smoking Hot. You knew we had to have some kind of pun related to his cigarette smoking, which I don't think he's doing right now in terms of becoming a professional again, but at least while he was on the beaches and while he was enjoying retirement, he was certainly doing that. Took him some time to get off the rust. I was calling for Inaki Peña to be the starter. Hansi Flick, he has been right over and over again. And yeah, I always believed in Hansi Flick from the beginning. I think he's a fantastic manager, but he was absolutely right on the Szczesny stuff because this is the player that Hansi Flick called out of retirement for. And if Pedri was not man of the match, I thought it was Szczesny. Absolutely, it was Szczesny. The numbers back it up. 66th minute, another save from him. 70th minute, Benfica made the changes. Barca then were dealing with some corners because Benfica added fresh legs. But again, it was Araujo, it was Koundé, that back line digging in there. And meanwhile, Tek is just making save after save after save. 78th minute, Lewandowski and De Jong off for Castado and Gerard Martin. De Jong, as I said, put in a freaking shift. Credit to him. And again, credit to Hansi Flick making these substitutions for legs when they had to and understanding the game state. Castado and Gerard Martin added much needed legs in those last 12 plus minutes. On the day for Szczesny, it was 26 shots faced, 0 goals conceded, 8 saves total, and a 1.90 XG against. So he was supposed to give up about 2 goals. He gave up 0. Szczesny made 8 saves in the game, as I said, which is a record for any Barca goalkeeper without conceding a goal in a single Champions League game since at least the 2003-04 season. And I implore you, if you're watching this on YouTube, let me know down in the comments the last time that you had a Barcelona goalkeeper have a game like this in the Champions League. And on top of that, if you're listening or you're following along on any social media or whatever, Back that up with some stats. Send me the stats for this because I would love to hear some of the goalkeeper comparisons. Barcelona of the 21st century have not had one of the top 3 or 4 goalkeepers, and even in the Liga, they have not had probably any of the top 5 in the Liga. Victor Valdez was his own thing. Ter Stegen, again, those are 2 of the top maybe 4 goalkeepers in Barcelona history, and yet they just haven't been some of the best goalkeepers in world football. Szczesny, as far as just a monolith of a game, this was certainly a game to remember for Szczesny. So all the credit to the goalkeeper. So happy that Hansi Flick did not listen to me and just stuck with his gut. Headline 5 is quieting the UCL Demons. Barcelona, because it's now been 10 years since they last won the Champions League, there are still demons to exercise, but little by little. I think Xavi did some work on this. I think Hansi Flick has done a ton of work on this and exercising those Champions League demons and all those moments that it felt like Barcelona should have been there, that they should have been the superior team for the full tie, and they wilted, and it just didn't seem like they had it in different parts in Europe over the last 10 years. And slowly but surely, they're exercising those demons, and this game did a lot for that as well. I honestly think so. Benfica had a week off, but Barcelona played on Sunday, and yet Barcelona still looked in the second half like a team that were surviving, sure, but a team that had enough mentally, more than physically even, to get over the line. Pedri, I will reiterate, he was getting pressed by 3 or 4 men at a time, and Benfica did not learn their lesson. They could not take the ball off him. 82nd minute, Castro gives it away, and he is really, really fortunate that Belotti was offside here. He should not have been, that being Belotti. Because if he wasn't, Inigo Martinez and Tek would have gifted the PK, and this would have shifted the entire narrative of the game. So Castro very lucky, but a continued credit to Inigo Martinez this season for having such superior timing on the offside trap. Balde late in that game was playing without any legs, completely gassed beyond belief, playing in the midfield with Gerard Martin on the field, as Barcelona did have to settle into a low block in those closing minutes. When João Reggio came on for Benfica, was a menace, also picked up a yellow, so really doing a little bit of everything in his sub appearance. And late on, with Benfica getting a chance in the 88th minute, they also, corner after corner after corner late into stoppage time, going short. That's what you do with an extra man, making things complicated, sure. But in the 91st minute, here's what calmed all those nerves. How, excuse my language here, how the hell did Pedri get out of 3 men pressuring him? It leads to Rego fouling him where he picks up that yellow. Just unbelievable from Pedri. It's the last compliment I have from him. I wish I had more words for you. I wish I had more vocabulary for you, but the stats are not going to do this justice for Pedri. Koundé also with some excellent defending late, header clearances, back post defending. Really, really good day from Koundé as well. All on that back line. When you wind up going 78 plus minutes, down a man, your back line, your goalkeeper, your midfielders, they deserve a whole lot of credit for the result. And then Szczesny putting a bow on this one, maybe his best save of the day in stoppage time, a long-range missile late. Barcelona, the stats, as I said, don't really do this game justice. They were the better team, even down by 10 men. And you think about last season, how different was this from the PSG game? How different was this game from the one against Monaco earlier this season? This is a team that has continued to go strength to strength. They had their lull in November and December. You can't expect a team to be pushing on all cylinders all season long. They had their ebbs and their flows. And if they are catching wind at the right time and can win games in multiple ways, and they have learned from the challenges they have faced earlier this season, this is a team that you really get on the bandwagon if you're not there just yet. I know we're all still afraid. I'm not talking about the Champions League alone. I'm talking about La Liga, Copa del Rey, Champions League. Barcelona, at this point, I think it's fair to say, if they do not win one of those trophies, it is going to feel a bit like a failure because Barcelona is good enough to win at least one of those trophies. And we'll see what kind of horses they have for Osasuna on Saturday, which again, I remind you of the program note, I will not have a watch along for that one on Big Up, but I will have a 5 headlines afterwards. So again, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and do all those nice things to follow along with that one. And then please, next Tuesday, join me on Big Up for the watch along for the second leg of this one against Benfica. It is definitely going to be a match without Cubarsi, but probably is going to have everything else, including some more fireworks for this tie, because these two this season cannot get out of each other's way in having big moments and fireworks. So I do appreciate you for joining me for all of the fireworks in this one and for all the fireworks in the past and now coming up in the remainder of this season. So as always, until next time, we're Cubarsi.